Hey there everyone, welcome to my Facebook Live. In this video, I want to share with you the top 4 things that are keeping you stuck from your weight loss goals. And it's the same 4 things that I keep seeing over and over and over again. So I know that you will benefit from hearing this because it's just like it's happening all the time, everybody. So for those of you who don't know, my name is Kelly and I help women lose stubborn weight that they cannot get off regardless of what they try. They may have a history of yo-yo dieting or metabolic damage or hormonal issues or menopausal issues. Emotional eating is a big one. So I work one-on-one with women and I coach them through the process of losing the weight, and I get amazing results from patients, from clients that I work with, losing that stubborn weight. So if you are somebody who is struggling with this, please sign up for a free call with me. We can go over what your situation is, what's going on with you, and I can kind of point you in the right direction, and we can kind of see if it would be a good fit to work together. So I want to go ahead and get started with the 4 things that are keeping people stuck, keeping women stuck in their weight loss goals. And first and foremost, I always say getting the emotional eating under control is kind of top priority. It really is. But in this video, I'm going to talk about dietary things that are keeping people stuck, and then I've made a ton of other videos on emotional eating, but this will be for dietary things that are keeping people stuck. The first thing is nuts and nut butters. They are very healthy. Yes, nuts and nut butters are very healthy, and they are high in fat, and they have a ton of nutrients in them, and they're great. But what's happening is we're over consuming them, and it's people are turning to them kind of to eat for emotional reasons, and they're just grabbing a handful all day long, and it's something too that kind of becomes almost addictive. And so what I recommend with nuts is you can go ahead and have them in your diet, that's fine, but I wouldn't use them as something that you're grazing on or snacking on. If you want to have them as part of your meal, great, but they are really, people are over consuming them. They are so easy to over consume. So that is the first thing I recommend, is cutting out the nuts if you are not meeting your goals. And like I said, I wanted to reiterate, nuts are healthy and they're great, and they have lots of nutrients, and they're high in really great fats. But sometimes healthy foods are not necessarily, fat loss foods. And so if what you're doing isn't working, you may want to look into cutting down on the nuts. Okay, so the second thing that is keeping people stuck is dairy. And once again, dairy can be fine, and it's low in carbs, and it is a great tool. It's a great thing that you can eat when you're trying to eat low carb, but it's causing people to get stuck in their goals. And there's a couple reasons for this. Number one, for probably about 50% of people, they're finding that it's making them even more hungry, and it's driving up their cravings. And this could be due to maybe some sort of intolerance that you have to lactose, or casein is another protein that's in dairy, and some people can kind of react to it, and it makes them crave more, it makes them tired, it makes them bloated, and it can hold on to a lot of inflammation weight. So that may be another thing you want to look into. And what's interesting is that you will not see these effects immediately. So you will maybe start eating some dairy and you feel fine. Even for the first 24 hours, you feel fine. You don't see any side effects. And then maybe it's 48 to 72 hours later is when you may notice the symptoms of bloatedness, fatigue, irritability, maybe your hunger and cravings goes up. and you don't connect the two because there's such a delayed onset of the symptoms. So what I recommend doing is, if you feel like this could be you, where your dairy is keeping you stuck, cut out dairy for 2 weeks straight, commit to it, be pretty strict with it. Don't have any for 2 weeks, and then see if you notice any symptoms. See if you notice your symptoms go away. I know this was a big one for me, and what kind of kept me stuck for a long time was that I wasn't paying attention to that delayed onset. So I would have the dairy, I would feel fine for 12 to 24 hours, and then when I made the connection that I was getting these symptoms 48 to 72 hours later, that is when I cut out the dairy, and it made a huge difference. For me, it was the inflammation way. I was retaining so much water from dairy. My face was puffy, and I even looked puffy under my eyes, and was just carrying around a lot of water. So this can be huge for people. Cut out the dairy. It doesn't have to be forever. It can be just a 2-week experiment, just to kind of see if you feel different. Okay, so the third thing that is keeping people stuck is fatty coffees. And once again, fatty coffees are great, and you can put all sorts of great healthy fats in there, but what's happening is we're kind of overdoing it. And we are drinking our fatty coffees all day long, and it's fueling us with a lot of energy, and that's great. But if you are carrying around a lot of weight, if your goal is to lose some of your excess body weight so that you can feel better and feel more confident and live your best life, what you want to do is you want to burn your own body fat. You want to burn your own body fat instead of all of the fat from these fatty coffees. So it's something that you might want to keep in mind. And what I recommend if you think you're struggling with something like this is you can go ahead and have your fatty coffee with your coconut butter or whatever you put in it. But do not have your fatty coffee when you're kind of in your intermittent fasting window. I recommend that most women fast 12, 14, 16, or even more hours every single day. Do not have your fatty coffee in that fasting period. And then once you're more in your eating or feasting window, then it's fine to go ahead and have the fatty coffee. But I think sometimes we forget that we really do want our bodies to become efficient at burning our own fat stores. And when we're constantly feeding it fat from our fatty coffees, or even the fat bombs too. The fat bombs are kind of along the same lines. Our bodies are having to utilize that fat first. So that's another reminder. And the last thing I want to bring up is that of the 4 things that are keeping you stuck is, and this is a big one, artificial sweeteners. And this is a question that gets asked all the time. And unfortunately, there's just no direct answer that I can give you because it varies so much from person to person. Some people can get along just fine with putting things like stevia in their coffee or drink or whatever, and they don't notice any sort of side effects. Their glucose stays low, their insulin stays low, and they're able to reach their goals. But some people do the exact same stevia, the exact same amount, and it will cause symptoms such as an increase in cravings, an increase in hunger, an increase in their glucose levels, an increase in their insulin levels, and it's keeping them out of their fat burning mode, and it's keeping them stuck. And so I see it probably over 50% of the time. When I can convince women to cut out the sweeteners, they will start to see results. So, but like I said, it's really individualized. And so you kind of have to play around with what works for you. There are different types of sweeteners, as you probably know, and some of them tend to cause more problems than others. Stevia usually tends to be a pretty safe one that doesn't cause a lot of problems. But like I said, some people are sensitive to that too. I would stay away from all of the sweeteners that are very chemical-like the aspartame and the, like what's in the diet sodas. I drew blank all of a sudden, but the aspartame and I can't remember what Splenda is now, but the name for Splenda. But those tend to cause more problems than the stevia. Erythritol is one that kind of depends on the person too. Some people are totally fine with that. Other people have to stay away from it. So it's something to look into. It's something to think about. It's something to consider maybe pulling out of your diet for 2 to 3 weeks straight and just seeing if you notice anything. Ladies, let me know if you have any questions, any comments about this. This is, like I said, something that I keep hearing over and over and over again. So I thought it would be a good idea just to have a Facebook Live. And before I forget too, ladies, if you are struggling with weight loss resistance, and especially in your menopausal years, perimenopausal years, and you are trying everything and you just can't get the weight to come off. Now, that could be due to hormonal reasons. It could be due to emotional eating. It could be due to disordered eating, binge eating. It could be due to years and years of yo-yo dieting, metabolic damage. There are a ton of reasons why women, especially in this age of about 35 to 40 and beyond, are struggling to lose the weight. Diets don't work. Diet plans don't work. Meal plans don't work. So that is where I come in and I can help you. So please, if you're struggling with this and you want help, please sign up for a call with me and we can just go over what your situation is and see if we would be a good fit to work together. I can coach you through a step-by-step plan that's not overwhelming, that we just tackle one thing at a time. It's all laid out for you. And it takes the overwhelm out of spending hours and hours of searching online, searching on the internet, trying to figure out what route to go. Many women feel so alone in this and they kind of isolate themselves and they find themselves hanging out at home by themselves and they're not enjoying life anymore and they're hiding in their baggy clothes and it becomes their normal. It becomes really normal for women and they kind of forget that they're living this subpar life because it's just how they've been living every single day. And so to really address this and to know that you aren't alone and to work with somebody who gets it, who understands it, who's been there, can really change your life around. And there's so many women that have given up hope that there's even a chance to get back to feeling like their old selves or to live their, a better life. And so they kind of give up. But I promise you that it can get better. And even the most metabolically damaged woman or whatever people call themselves, metabolically damaged or lost hope or whatever, even you can lose the weight. I promise you can. So that was the 4 things that I wanted to bring up. I'll go through them again. Number 1, the top 4 things that are keeping you stuck with your weight loss goals when it comes to dietary things. Not emotional. Emotional eating is top priority. But today I'm just talking about 4 dietary things that are keeping you stuck in your weight loss goals. Number 1, nuts and nut butters. Number 2, dairy. Number 3, fatty coffees or consuming or grazing on fatty coffees or fat bombs all day long, keeping you stuck. And 4th thing is artificial sweeteners. So, like I said, please get a hold of me. Let me know if you have questions. Let me know if you want to chat. I'm going to put a link in the comments here as soon as I get a chance. And you can sign up for a free call. If you don't want a free call with me, just message me, a direct message or an email. I'll put my information up. So that is all I have for today. Thank you for listening. I will see you all soon.